Thank you for joining us tonight. You're now with me, Shel Chaminato, for TVS Nightline. We begin with the headlines. In a bid for those who are living in coastal areas, the Sarawak government is currently giving efforts to benefit these locals. This can be seen by the construction project of the Batang Saribas Bridge, measuring 1.5 kilometres with a cost of 496 million ringgit, which is now currently in progress.
The construction project of Batang Saribas Bridge, which measures 1.5 kilometers, costs 496 million ringgit. The bridge will complete the set of roads needed to fully connect the coastal road network comprising of Kuching, Kota Samarahan, Sibu and Miri. According to the residents, the bridge will provide convenient transportation facilities, especially for residents residing in rural areas.
Memang udah dipecah tanah dah kata Hidayah nak. Jadi mudah-mudahanlah jembatannya dapat menghubungkan macam kawasan Sebuyo nak pergi ke Riso. Jadi silah kita pun naik ya makan peri lagi sebab masa tu kita pun ada dengar jualah kisah-kisah peri tu. Jadi mudahan ada jembatan nanti dapat meningkatkan lagi ekonomi kita, dapat meningkatkan lagi macam pendapatan. Jadi pelancong-pelancong pun senanglah.
Mintanya ada malah jembatan dengan siaplah dapat kita anak cucu kita lah berjalan si babahyo gila kita. Tapi kini itulah syukur alhamdulillah lah.
Dan sangat naya kata orang sangat memberi kemudahan kepada semua penduduk kampung Sebuyo, Melodam, Beladin, Pusat, termasuk Serikir Sibu lah, supaya lebih senang, setidaknya macam berulang-alik pergi ke Kuching, hubungan Kuching dengan Sibu pun semakin dekat lah.
The construction of the bridge will also provide space and opportunity for the local community to further improve their standard of living.
Maka sistem perhubungan di kawasan kita akan bertambah baik, bertambah lengkap. Dengan demikian akan dapat memberi peluang pembukaan kawasan dan penggunaan untuk membawa masuk dan membawa keluar produk-produk daripada kawasan ini.
The first Batang Saribas Bridge is expected to be completed by June 2023, while the second bridge is expected to be completed by 2024.
Jadi dengan siapnya jembatan ni maka lengkaplah jalinan jalan raya lebuh raya 3 ni tadi yang melalui kawasan Tun Mita Maru. Jadi dengan sistem jalan yang ini nanti akan memudahkan masyarakat di sini untuk berhubung dengan kawasan luar, sama ada membawa masuk input ataupun membawa keluar hasil di kawasan ini.
Meanwhile, residents in Tanjung Purun, Ludu, who are paddy entrepreneurs, can now harvest in a shorter period compared to before. The local market in Sarawak will now be supplied with rice harvested from Tanjung Purun.
Kelainannya adalah variety yang kita buat di sini adalah variety yang jangka pendek yang kita dapati dari pihak Mardi. Kalau padi dulu memakan masa 5-6-7 bulan, yang ini hanya 90 hari.
A total of 59 farmers from the villages in the area will collaborate with the Agricultural Department and the Farmers Association in succeeding the said project. In addition, 96 more farmers will join the project to work on untended areas of the paddy field measuring 87.5 hectares. According to Jamila, the early phase of paddy production in Tanjung Purun will be supplied to local markets only. However, the project will be monitored continuously to observe the potential of the supply of Purun rice globally.
Kalau kita boleh promotekan beras gedung, kita pun boleh juga promotekan itu beras Purun. Dari kawasan kita. That will be the first time. So we are waiting for the time when this one will be packed and will be sold, in fact, in almost of the supermarkets around.
And of course, we have our strategic planning in marketing our rice.
Pet owners, especially cat and dog owners, were urged to continue giving anti-rabies vaccine for their pets. According to the Sarawak Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, this was to decrease the number of rabies cases in the state. Pet owners who fail to give anti-rabies vaccination to their pets will be found guilty under Section 40 Public Health Veterinarian Ordinance 1999.
Remind everybody that you have to vaccinate your pets once a year against rabies, because only when through vaccination, then we know. I mean, people now talking about COVID herd immunity. Why do you want to hit 70% of your population? Same with the animals. You need to hit at least 70% of your animal population being vaccinated against rabies. Then you get herd immunity.
Apart from that, among other measures which can be done is to neuter their pets to control the infections. SSPCA Sarawak now has 350 stray dogs which need a monthly cost of 30,000 ringgit. To accommodate the number of stray dogs which are expected to increase, Donna added, SSPCA Sarawak will build a special animal centre on a 2-acre land which was previously allocated by the government. However, construction works were postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which in the long run has increased construction costs.
We're actually going through the tender process right now. But again, I think COVID has brought the expenses of everything up, all the building materials. So actually, according to the QS, she called me yesterday, it's going to be way over our original budget. So we have to probably look at rearranging, redesigning, and then definitely having to seek more public help for fundraising.
Now, fibre optic cable deployment works for the Telekom Malaysia Sarawak from Kanawit to Kapit are currently ongoing. The cable will span a distance of 109 kilometres. Narrow road shoulder conditions, soil erosion and delays in the road construction in certain parts between Kanawit and Kapit. Telekom Malaysia TM said in a statement these are some of the challenges faced by Telekom Malaysia in the deployment works. TM Sarawak General Manager Jafar Sadiq Abdul Latif said this project will ensure the migration of 680 subscribers in Kapit, 120 in Song and 140 in Belaga. Meanwhile, Tan Sri Dr. James Jumat Masing requested TM Sarawak to look into extending the fibre optic cable all the way to Bukit Mabong. He, who is also the Deputy Chief Minister and Minister of Infrastructure and Ports Development, said that is where a new airport will be constructed. He also reaffirmed that Kapit, Kanawit, Song, Sungai Asap and Belaga needs fast, stable and reliable internet connection. Safety control measures for the Malaysia-Indonesia border in Sarawak will be strengthened through the addition of border posts. According to Army Chief General Tan Sri Dato' Zamroz Muhammad Zain, the Sarawak government has approved a few land sites for the foreposts which is scheduled to begin operation by August this year.
Di Sarawak kita telah luluskan atau kita telah plan untuk penambahan 4 pos operasi, pos simpangan di negeri Sarawak. Dan juga untuk mengucap terima kasih juga pada Ketua Menteri kerana telah meluluskan tanah-tanah. Ada 4 lokasi tanah yang telah diluluskan sepanjang sepadan antara Sarawak dan Kalimantan yang telah diputuskan oleh Menteri Pertahanan.
The operation of the 4 posts will make a cumulative total of 19 border posts in the state, which will strengthen controls between Sarawak and Kalimantan borders in Indonesia. Meanwhile, Zamroz added his parties will plan to build a new camp for the 7th Battalion of the Border Regiment in Bintulu. The matter has also been discussed with Chief Minister Dato' Patinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg in the suggestions which can be proposed to the ministry level.
Sebab sekarang kita menyewa di atas tanah state, jadi kita merancang untuk membuat camp proper. Jadi kita nak tanya pandangan daripada state apa option yang kita ada. Jadi saya ada dapat keputusan daripada Ketua Menteri Sarawak tadi tanpa tersebut dan kita akan berbincang dekat Menteri Pertahanan macam mana opsi-opsi tersebut dapat dilaksanakan.
Welcome back. Now on to the next headlining story, as a husband and wife pair were detained for violating the Enhanced Movement Control Order, or EMCO, in Bintangor. Maradong District Police Chief Deputy Superintendent Sekam Anoy, a 44-year-old man, and his 43-year-old wife, hailing from a longhouse in Maradong River, were arrested by a monitoring team in Bintangor Market around 9:30 a.m. after receiving a public tip-off. He added a traffic summons was also issued against the man for riding a motorcycle without a license. The husband and wife pair were compounded for violating the EMCO under Rule 14 of the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Measures within the Local Infected Areas 2021. Sekam also reminded Longhouse residents, especially those under EMCO, to adhere to the standard operating procedures, which is to stay in their homes and not sneak outside. Teachers in nurseries and kindergartens have been asked to categorize as frontline workers. They were also urged to be considered for early COVID-19 vaccination. The aspect of environmental safety must be instilled in order to prevent COVID-19 infections, as COVID-19 has directly impacted the development of children. The effectiveness of online learning sessions, however, have not been satisfactory due to the very young age of nursery and kindergarteners.
Saya juga ingin ada permintaan daripada Majlis Pembangunan Awal Kanak-kanak dalam mesyuarat tadi bahawa guru-guru yang mengajar, membimbing anak-anak di institusi pendidikan awal kanak-kanak ini harus dikira sebagai frontliners sama seperti guru-guru lainnya. Jadi dengan itu proses vaksinasi harus juga merangkumi guru-guru di Tadika dan juga di Taska.
Fatima explained that the elements of socialization between these children are very impactful for their development, as they also must have the ability to socialize in order to develop themselves. Following the next update, as Sarawak on Tuesday showed a positive development after 210 recovery cases were recorded. However, 163 new infections were reported in Sarawak, with Batong recording the highest number of cases at 37. Sarawak State Disaster Management Committee (SDMC) in a statement said Sarawak reported one new death involving an 83-year-old senior citizen in Muka Hospital. Meanwhile, Samarahan District has improved to a yellow zone from orange, while Subis District has deteriorated into a red zone. Meanwhile, Malaysia recorded 2,345 recovery cases, bringing the total cumulative recovery cases to 296,379.
At the same time, new COVID-19 infections in Malaysia have continued to trend downward at 1,280 cases on Tuesday. Director General of Health Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said of the total, 2 were imported cases. Active COVID-19 cases stand at 18,704. Meanwhile, 9 new deaths were recorded, bringing the total death toll to 1,186. As of today, a total of 155 patients are receiving intensive care treatment, and of the number, 76 require respiratory assistance.
Following the next news, as the government is considering issuing a certificate of exemption to individuals who cannot receive the COVID-19 vaccine to replace their vaccination passport. Coordinating Minister for the National COVID-19 Immunization Program, Khairi Jamaluddin, said this includes those having serious allergies or who are immunocompromised.
Namun demikian, atas prinsip keadilan ataupun equity, bagi mereka yang tidak boleh menerima vaksin, contohnya immunocompromised ataupun ada alahan yang serius. Mereka juga kita sedang fikir bagaimana kita boleh bagi satu sijil pengecualian yang mereka ini memang tidak dapat diberikan vaksin.
Khairi explained the government was still refining the plan to give digital vaccine certificates via the MySejahtera application to individuals who had received 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine.
Sistem itu akan kita memberikan maklumat kepada WHO dan juga negara-negara lain supaya mereka dapat mengiktiraf sistem kita.
Meanwhile, Executive Director WHO Health Emergencies Program Dr. Michael Ryan urged that the vaccine passport should not be implemented for now.
Thank you for staying with me. Meanwhile, the Sarawak Initiative welcomes the Sarawak government's move through Yayasan Sarawak to help repay 30% of the balance of student loans to the National Higher Education Fund Corporation, or PTPTN. However, the government was also requested to focus on the low-income group.
In our opinion, the Sarawak Initiative feel very strongly that when the government want to help, they should look at the lower income group first. Meaning to say, if student cannot pay the loan, you look at the financial situation of the student, and then you look at the situation of the family the student from. If their family is a low-income group, and the student didn't get a good pay, they cannot be made to pay the loan. It's impossible.
Engineer Goh added, the initiative is able to alleviate the burden of the underprivileged group and at the same time bridging the growing income inequality gap in this country. He said this when contacted by TVS.
The export value of palm oil and palm oil-based products is expected to increase due to high demand, from 73.3 billion ringgit in 2020 to 75 billion ringgit this year, as economies around the world gradually recover. The price of crude palm oil, or CPO, has recently risen by more than 4,000 ringgit per tonne, the highest in 25 years. The Ministry of Plantation Industries and Commodities said the implementation of economic recovery initiatives and the recent launched national vaccination program will further enhance the industry. Its Minister, Dr. Muhammad Khairuddin Aman Razali, said in 2020, the country's agri-commodities sector recorded a positive trade value of 191.7 billion ringgit. It shows an increase of 14.1% compared to 168.1 billion ringgit in 2019. Now on to local sports development, as Football Association of Malaysia, FAM President Datuk Hamidin Mohamad Amin has been appointed as Malaysia's chef de mission to the SEA Games 2021 in Hanoi, Vietnam. The SEA Games 2021 is scheduled to commence from November 21 until December 2 this year.
Olympic Council of Malaysia President Tan Sri Muhammad Norza Zakaria said Hamidin's appointment was unanimously decided at the OCM Executive Board meeting today on the recommendation of National Sports Council Director General Dato' Ahmad Shapawi Ismail. Muhammad Norza said the selection committee would meet national sports associations on March 18 and 19 to discuss the composition of athletes for the national contingent, in view that Malaysia would be sending a mixed team of juniors and seniors.
Following the next update, as Serba Dynamic Holdings Berhad has secured 5 projects in India and Indonesia via its subsidiaries. The projects are namely 2 operations and maintenance and 3 information, communication and technology projects. The global integrated engineering services provider in a statement said the contracts worth 408.8 million ringgit were secured by its wholly owned units, namely the STIT International Limited and Serba Dynamics Sdn Berhad, as well as its 75% owned subsidiary PT Serba Dynamic Indonesia and its 49% owned associate Serba 2C India Limited. The group CEO, Dr. Muhammad Abdul Karim Abdullah, said the contracts signify the company's stronger capabilities to ensure more projects in ICT and non-oil and gas businesses. In the same development, Plantation Industries and Commodities Minister Dr. Muhammad Khairuddin Aman Razali said the commodity and commodity-based products sectors contributed 85.1 billion ringgit to the country's gross domestic product in 2020. 48.3 billion ringgit was contributed by the palm oil sector.
Bagi memastikan prestasi sektor komoditi negara kekal mampan, modal insan di pengetahuan dan berkemahiran amat diperlukan. Faktor ini adalah penting agar produktiviti sektor komoditi dapat dipertingkatkan bagi menjana pendapatan negara.
In 2020, the national agri-commodity sector records positive trade value of 191.7 billion ringgit, which is an increase of 14.1% compared to 168.1 billion ringgit in 2019. Of the amount, the exports were worth 150.5 billion ringgit, while imports were 41.2 billion ringgit. Meanwhile, several commodity sectors such as palm oil, rubber, timber, canaf, cocoa and pepper offer more than 60,000 job vacancies. Muhammad Khairuddin called on locals, especially job seekers, to seize the opportunity to get suitable jobs through the Agri-Commodity Career Carnival 2021.
Dalam hal ini, Kementerian akan terus bekerjasama dengan pihak berkeso untuk membantu pihak industri mendapatkan tenaga kerja yang diperlukan dengan mengutamakan pekerja tempatan dan pekerja dari kalangan orang asli.
Realizing the lack of local workforce entering the plantation sector, KPPK through the Institute of Malaysian Plantation and Commodities also focused on developing and strengthening the human capital development, especially to increase the number of skilled and competent employees. Now, Top Glove Corporation Berhad net profit surged by more than 24 times its usual profit, from 115.68 billion ringgit in the year 2020 to 2.87 billion ringgit in the second quarter financial year ending on February 28, 2021. In a filing with Bursa Malaysia today, the world's largest glove manufacturer said it also achieved its highest ever quarterly sales revenue, an increase of 336% from 1.23 billion ringgit in 2020 to 5.37 billion ringgit in 2021. On the company's performance, Top Glove said its strong and healthy sales were attributed to the continued demand for gloves globally. On the arrival of the COVID-19 vaccine, Top Glove said the group is confident that global glove demand would remain robust. To ensure it remains well-positioned, it said the group would continue to pursue organic expansion, inorganic expansion and strategic investments. And that concludes TVS Nightline for tonight. And as always, thank you for tuning in to your local news tonight. Here with me, Shar Shaminato, and I'll see you next time. Have a good night.